Hello everyone, my name is Voodoo, and in today's video, I'll be going over which builds you should be playing in Mythic Plus as Havoc Demon Hunter. So what are currently the best Havoc Demon Hunter Mythic Plus builds? Well, those of you who've been playing Havoc since Dragonflight launched, or who've been following the channel for a while now, know that Havoc's main two builds, and the main one really, is based on throw glaives, which calling it either the throw glaive build or the left-right build. You'll see it up on your screen right now. This build is called this for two reasons. One, it goes down the left and right side of the bottom of the tree, very clear there. And it also picks up the throw glaive talents in the bottom right side, so either throw glaive or left-right. Now this build is very strong for a few reasons. One, the left side of our tree, momentum, essence break, know your enemy, all that stuff is just very powerful, especially in AoE, especially with initiative. The right side also brings a ton of power as well. The Immolation Aura talents, Growing Inferno, Rage Fire, that kind of thing, brings you a lot of AoE damage, and then any means necessary, Giga amps that Immolation Aura damage to the moon, and also buffs up like your Fell Devastation damage and stuff like that. While the little Glaive package down there gives you some nice priority damage, some nice 3-target AoE, as well as some nice boss damage. So this build is very powerful, it's very well rounded. The addition of Blind Fury in the top left there gives it a little bit more I-beam damage as well. And this build is generally just your nice bread and butter stable build. This build's been very good for a long time. It's very survivable, very tanky, does lots of different AoE, has burst on each pack basis, and honestly is very, very good. The other build that people have normally been playing is going to be a Glaive Tempest build. Now this build goes down the left side and the middle and drops out momentum. So you go down the left side, then you kind of peter off into Critical Chaos to pick up Glaive Tempest and then go back down into the middle of the tree. Sorry, go back down into Know Your Enemy, and then you are in the middle of the tree for Shattered Destiny and the other build there, Cycle of Hatred. And these all kind of synergize together. So Cycle of Hatred does work with Glaive Tempest, right? So the whole idea here is that you just high uptime, Glaive Tempest, really consistent damage in AoE, Death Sweeps a lot of your damage, I-beams a lot of your damage. You have Inner Demon, which just ate a 30% buff, which is actually pretty big. So those are doing basically a ton of damage now. And this build is just really good in like lower target counts. For a lot of last season, it wasn't really played too much, but this build has a lot of single target, a lot of lower target count damage. Glaive Tempest is a really strong, consistent damage tool. You'll see it's often very high up on the damage meters. This build is also much more survivable. You're in meta for a lot longer with this build because of Shattered Destiny, because of Cycle of Hatred. So you have a lot more of that leech, so you're taking a lot of the damage you heal, like you're getting healed a lot more. So there's a lot more survivability here. You also can grab DA for even more survivability with the demon souls that you're lesser soul fragments that you're cleaving off people. This build is very survivable. It's also not much of a loss to grab the immunity here with Netherwalk, that's the name. So this build, very well rounded, very good. Now these builds were both kind of played in season 1. People were like, oh, you know, we'll play left, right in most places, and then Court of Stars will play Glaive Tempest. But then as you got higher, people started to realize, oh, you know, in this 28, mobs are living long enough that Rage Fire gets a ton of value. And that's kind of going to be a similar situation to where we find ourselves right now, today. The left-right build is very, very strong, and the reason why it's strong is because a lot of the Immolation Aura it can do, like the damage it does from Immolation Aura, is just very powerful. It's very consistent, like you have it very often, and it's very strong. And the Rage Fire hits, even though technically it's a little weird because Rage Fire is, the hit is uncapped, but Rage Fire only like takes damage from 3 targets hit. So it itself is capped, but Rage Fire can do some very strong damage in large pull counts, which is really good. It's one of our only uncapped buttons. The hit of Rage Fire is uncapped, Inner Demon is uncapped, and then Fell Devastation is uncapped. Other than that, we're pretty much soft capped at like 8 to 5 targets, depending on what button you use. The left-right build, very strong, large AoE. So if you're pulling like larger than 4 to 5 mobs in a pack, pretty consistently, pretty often, I will say that left-right is probably just the best there. Like hands down, has very strong priority damage with glaives now too, so you're not really suffering on single target when you're taking this build as much as you were before. Obviously, it is still behind the other like Glaive Tempest build in terms of single target, but for the most cases, I think you should play this build in almost every dungeon. Halls of Infusion, Uldaman, the Underrot, Freehold, and then what's the other one? Oh, Neltharis, and then Brackenhide, I believe. I just listed, yeah, those are the 6 dungeons. I believe it's just in those dungeons at mostly any serious key level. Obviously, if you're in like really low key level, things aren't living like rage fire, so it doesn't even matter anyways. Play what you want, but like above 20, stuff like that, I do think the left-right build is just going to be better in those 6 dungeons, just hands down, no matter what you're seeing. I don't think there's much of a discussion with the other builds in that scenario. I do think that left-right is just going to be the best there. But you notice that there are 8 dungeons in the season. I only named 6 of them. And I honestly do think that in Vortex Pinnacle and Neltharian's Lair, I do think that a Glaive Tempest based build actually has a lot of game there. In Vortex Pinnacle, I do believe that Glaive Tempest is just better. There's basically no pulls in that dungeon over like 4 or 5 targets. Very few pulls you can actually combine together. The only one you can combine together has a bunch of those little cyclone mobs that you really don't want to combine together because they're just kind of intensive in like kicks and stuff like that. So I think in this dungeon, especially with like how many single target mobs there are, how many important mobs there are to prio down, and just overall the difficulty of the bosses, as well as first boss just being absolute hell on earth for momentum, that is bullet hell. I do think that Glaive Tempest is actually just better in this dungeon, just like hands down, it's just better, and I think Glaive Tempest should be the play in Vortex Pinnacle. In Neltharian's Lair, now this one's a little more recent. I haven't done too much testing of Glaive Tempest in this dungeon. Some other people in the Discord have, though. And I do think that in this dungeon, there's also not that many pulls you can do, maybe like 2 of them, that are above 4 to 5 targets. And in the 4 to 5 targets, Glaive Tempest is going to be really, really good. Now, I will say one caveat here. I do think that as you go higher up in key level in Neltharian's Lair, I do think left-right build will start to get a little bit better with Rage Fire. Same with Vortex Pinnacle. I think Vortex Pinnacle is going to be probably GT for a long time, up until really high keys. But I do think in Nelth's Lair, as you get higher, that Rage Fire will be a lot more important. The cleave you do with Glaives is really good in that dungeon. Like the worms on 3rd boss, the totems on 2nd boss. You can throw them onto the little skittering guide in 1st boss. So the Glaive passive cleave is very good. But as you go higher, I do think it'll start to get better and better. But that one's a bit more of a personal opinion. We'll see on that one. But I do think that Glaive Tempest based builds are very good in that. Now, you might be noticing I'm saying Glaive Tempest based builds instead of Glaive Tempest build. There's a reason for that. And the reason for that is the resurgence of a build people on this channel might know called Spread Eagle. Cue the eagle noise. So Spread Eagle is this build on your screen right now, named so by Fiesta, who is actually no longer a demon hunter, so he's now a cat, so whatever. But it is based on the small little triangle in the middle of your screen, where it kind of dips down left and right through Relentless Hunter and Inner Demon to pick up Glaive Tempest and to pick up the fodder. This build is interesting. So the big issue with this build before was the fact that it was really Fury starved. And I do think that with the increase in haste we have, as well as the 4Ps, I do think that Fury starvation gets better. Now, why this build? Well, this build features both Rage Fire and Glaive Tempest, which are probably 2 of our best buttons in AoE. Rage Fire does really good, well, I don't want to say uncapped, really good large pull count AoE, and Glaive Tempest does really good small, consistent pack-to-pack damage. You know, you have it on like an 18 to 15 second cooldown. So Spread Eagle might actually end up being a really viable choice. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, as you all know, Spread Eagle sims probably the highest on D-Slice. Now, D-Slice sims are a bit weird. It's based entirely on like really weird dungeon routes, and they do value single target more than you might see in a dungeon. But people have been doing success with this build. At the time of me recording this, it's actually one of the top parses on Mythic Zakali Assault as well. And it's been a viable build on Heroic. And that boss is very dungeon-esque, where you're getting a bunch of mobs with one target you want to focus down during the middle of it. So that's kind of a proof of concept that Spread Eagle can work. People in the Demon Hunter Discord, Bees, those of you who don't know who Bees is one of the top theory crafters for Havoc, has actually recorded success with it. Now, I'm personally unsure. I'm a big Spread Eagle fan. Let fly, fellow gamers. But the thing with Spread Eagle, too, is it is kind of trying to do a middle ground thing. You are losing the Glaives, which is a big thing to lose, and you're also trying to just do a bunch of different things at once. You're not spreading your Burning Wounds either, so you do feel like tab target a bit. But with the increase in haste and just kind of an increase of Fury generation from our tier set, I do think Spread Eagle gets a bit better. I do think it's worth looking into Spread Eagle for certain dungeons. I think VP and Nelth's Lair Spread Eagle could do very well in. I'm unsure about the other dungeons. Again, the Glaive package is just very powerful, and they made it better, in my opinion, with the changes. But I do think that Spread Eagle has some legs and could be looked into some dungeons. I'll probably do another video on it later on, once I've done some testing, once the community has done more testing, just to circle back on this. But Spread Eagle has gotten a ton better with recent changes and recent dungeon, just kind of compositions and stuff like that. So I think it could be pretty good. So to recap, I think in every dungeon besides Nel's Lair and Vortex Pinnacle, those being Neltheris, Brackenet Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Freehold, the Underrot, and Uldaman, I do think that the left-right build will just be better. But in Vortex Pinnacle and Nel's Lair, I do think that a Glaive Tempest based build is very, very strong and probably the play. So that is kind of going to be my video for today, talking about which build you should play in Mythic Plus. If you have any questions, have any different builds that maybe you've been doing a lot of success with, you can drop them in the comment below. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. Also, if you enjoyed the video, drop a sub. Really helps me out, helps grow the channel. And if you really appreciate the content, consider becoming a channel member. There's a link in the description. You can help support me make more content, get some cool exclusive perks and stuff like that. Now, with that is the end of the video. Hope you guys are enjoying. Have a good weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed your Monday. I will see you guys probably this night with another stream. We're doing Mythic Prog, and I will catch you guys all later. So thank you for watching. Hit the sub button, help me grow, and I'll see you guys next time. So peace. A big shout out to my channel members. Payne, big shout out to you. Metarol, WXZ, Alexandra Goncalves, Damian Polichkin, Osgook, Aiden, DHFG, Jack Gerard, It's Bulk, and Flapjack67. Big shout out to all of them for supporting the channel, allowing me to keep doing this. If you want to help me get a shout out at the end of videos and get other ton of cool perks, there's a link in the description of every video to become a channel member. So click that if you want to learn more. Anyways, thank you to all these people. Big shout out to them. Could not be possible without them. And I'll see you guys next video. Peace.